So, I'm going to read y'all two poems. One is a really, really long poem, and one's like a short poem. So I hope that's cool. If not, sorry, not sorry. This is called A Personal History of Hands. When I was a child, a singer told me in their vibrato that every single day was my birthday. I was not familiar with metaphor and thus took this as indisputable fact. I demanded my mother give me cake every day, and yet she did not oblige. Indignant, I drew myself my own sweet tribute to birth. I opened my Crayola markers and crafted a meal of ink. That was the first time I loved my own palms, creased and bursting with wonder. In the beginning, the world was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep. My spirit was hovering over the waters. With my pencil, I drew every animal. I drew each of them a cake, tiered cakes, chocolate and caramel dripping down the sides, fruit like a crown on the highest point of baked sweetness. I opened my eyes, awakening from the dream, and smiled. Still young, my doctor turned scalpel to paintbrush and meticulously traced my spine with pomegranate. I only ever see my own blood when I am hurting. The lesson, pain is a reflection of that which keeps us alive. The only part of me that didn't resent its ability to feel were my hands. I coaxed a third dimension out of a flat page, and that made me some kind of sorceress. Whenever I used to draw people, I made them with their hands hidden behind their backs. When my art teacher asked why, I told her that hands were too complex a mechanism for me to capture. She was never a believer in impossibility, so she instructed me to draw nothing but hands for 1 month. I made them into small contortionists, bending them into the most interesting shapes I could replicate. In the margins of all my schoolwork, I left the scribbled memory of extended fingers, until my body's prized instruments could separate the light from the darkness of mastery. At the end of the month, I created Handkind in my own image, and I saw that it was good. He claimed to be the antidote to my ache, and I, desperate for treatment, let my skin swallow each caress. I have painted the hollow still life of my body's unraveling for so many people. I say still life because a still life is an arrangement of objects. He fashioned my body into a glass vase to be filled by the medicine of his choice. He must have learned from the Romans, who once sweetened their wines with sugar of lead. I was never taught that poison could taste like a birthday cake. The story goes, my hands told me through their silent vibrato that it was rape. But it's easier to make it romantic, to rewrite it into the glowing ember of a burning cigarette. He told me I looked so beautiful when I burned myself for him, when I turned myself to ash for him. What's that legend about the phoenix? The blazing destruction, the promised rebirth? I made dissolving into a glorious spectacle, and that is what kept me with him. I was only given so many fingers. I cannot count how many times it happened, only that I hear the number in my nightmares as a chorus of nails and knuckles. I have a recurring dream. I fill a coffin with my paintbrushes, the good paper. Every pencil, 6H to HB to 6B, my markers become an inky eulogy. I empty bottles of acrylics into its depth. I unscrew my hands from my wrists and place them inside. A child's voice pleads from the fault lines of my palms. She's afraid of abandonment. I tell her this coffin is a cradle. I sing her to sleep and my vibrato is full of falsehoods. I close the lid. I bury her. My hands tenderly held his recurrent apologies, and I called their forgetfulness betrayal. Now I'm all fists, dense with tension and ready to fight. I never unclenched my fists long enough to hold a pencil or press gentleness onto a page. What I'm trying to say is I stopped drawing, a grief I never spoke. There's something transactional about Tinder. I give you an orgasm, you give me a distraction, a fair trade. Sleep with enough people and it becomes practice. Sex is a skill, like any other. Even so, there have been times during a hookup when I have said God's name and meant it. This is the only time I pray anymore. A man I'd never met before was once vulnerable with me. He asked me to knead his back into bread and make him into a golden worm. I confess I have never seen a body melt without also disappearing. I coaxed his body's vibrato into existence, and that makes me some kind of lover. I'm not saying I trust men. I only know it is possible to expose yourself to someone else's hands and not want to leave yourself. To say, please, this is what makes me weak. Please, I trust you with this. I return to the dream, ask the earth to unbury me, and she obliges. I open the coffin and take out the good paper and the mixed paint and all my pencils. I open the coffin and my hands are still there. I did not know this then, but the burial was never a funeral. It was an act of preservation. For the first time, I forgive my own palms. I hold them like a child and screw them back on my wrists. They are atrophied, but they are mine, and this is a fact I no longer doubt. I draw a shaky line. It's okay. Ink is meant to be messy, to spread of its own accord. I draw myself a cake. Short one is what I just wrote recently because I was thinking about, so long story short, I started wearing makeup and people started treating me different. And it made me, I was like, what, really? Like, I was like, all of a sudden, like, people thought I was dumb, and I was like, so I think you know what I mean. I feel like that's an academic term. But then I started thinking about, like, you know, and the reason why I started wearing makeup was because I was like, I wanted to be, like, for me personally, I wanted to be intentional with the way I looked, and that was like, and because I'm an artist, I wanted to, like, you know, it like made me feel better to do it, right? And so I was thinking about me and all my friends and the ways that they, like, take care of their bodies and how that becomes empowering. And so this is about that. It's called Ceremony. We are told we are not worthy, but we tend to our bodies anyways. When you grow a plant, you will grow to love it. I tend to my skin and I no longer want to peel it off. Medicine is caring for the flowers that bloom between our fingers. My friends let their hair grow wild and there is beauty there. My friend with the moonlit face shows me her starry scarf and wraps her head like the earth cradling its most precious seeds. My bursting, brilliant friend combs her hair straight and it is the tilling of soil. My friend with the half smile wears t-shirts and the grass in her garden is soft on my feet. With lotion, I infuse my skin with flowers. When I shape my eyebrows, it is topiary. When I paint my eyelids, I tell you to look at me when I am speaking. When I paint my lips, I am saying there's color to the words I speak. When I blush my cheeks, I am reminding you of the blood I have. When I use highlight, I catch the sun on my cheekbones and photosynthesize. Our gardens will always thrive.